I saw Katie pitch was in the fall of her junior year, 2013. I was out in Southern California and I got an opportunity to see her pitch at an indoor facility. And then after that, she actually competed against another team, and it was a premier team for travel ball, which means a lot of those players are signed at Power 5 schools. What got me interested in her was her ability to be fearless on the mound against those individuals. She was a hard-throwing right-hander, and she was a competitor. I decided to come out here for a visit that January. We had a snowstorm. I was thinking, oh gosh, this kid from Southern California is gonna not want to come here. But you know, again, her personality, she steps up to the challenge, she loves them, and she decided to commit to Wright State. It was then, I think, not even a year later, that maybe a little bit over a year after that, she, a silly little food fight in a high school cafeteria changed her life.
In 2014, I was hanging out at lunch, and there was a food fight that broke out, and I'm totally wanted to participate, so I was in the front line, and I turned my head to pick something over, and one of my friends that was a baseball player threw an orange as hard as he could from about 10 feet away from me and left like a crater in my neck, which gave me a concussion and whiplash and all sorts of stuff, and I was fine after like a week. So then I was good, and a couple months passed. Started getting like a little sick, but I was like, this is the flu, like I'm fine. And one day I just woke up and I started fainting. I couldn't stomach a single thing. I was in the hospital. They tested me for all sorts of things like mono, and it wasn't any of that. And it ended up being a different type of lymph node disease in my stomach, but it would go away. And we were like, okay. And so we waited and waited, and this was through the summer of 2014. And it just was not going away, and I was losing weight because I could barely eat a bowl of soup. So then we went and saw a surgeon, and he did some scans, and we ruled that my gallbladder had completely lost all function. So we take the gallbladder out.
That when it was all happening, Katie was out in Southern California and we were here, and it was interesting. I don't even know if Katie knows this, but while she was sharing with me, Coach, I'm having some problems, some issues with my stomach. I got my gallbladder removed, and she was sort of kind of making it seem that everything was going to be okay, and she was going to get better. And meanwhile, at the same time, I was kind of talking to her pitching coach, who was telling me, wow, this kid is really going through some stuff right now. She's lost a lot of weight. However, with as weak as she is, she's still finding ways to get to her pitching workouts, even if it just means throwing 1 or 2 pitches. And again, to hear that, to hear how much she was struggling, and to know she was still committed to being a great pitcher, just continued to convince me that, we made a great decision in signing her.
Then, after that, I woke up one day, like with the same rock in my stomach, and we were like, oh no, not again. So immediately we went to a stomach doctor, and I was put into every kind of test.
The doctor said, well, you're just going to have to live with this for the rest of your life, and that didn't work for us, so we went to another doctor. Then she started having intense leg pain, so by January 2015, she literally couldn't walk. So at the end of January 2015, we went to the hospital, and they admitted her and did a lot of tests, which was a blessing in disguise because we saw the head of every department. And at the end of it, a rheumatologist came and told us that she had complex regional pain syndrome.
That's pretty much where your autonomic nervous system disconnects from your brain, which is what controls the blood flow, the nerve signals. So since my stomach was hurting so bad and all those nerves were firing, my leg nerves got confused and they started firing, and from that orange, which connects it all, is what broke the autonomic nervous system. So my nerves cannot read correctly, and they are oversensitive to things. After I was diagnosed and discharged from the hospital, I was sent to a pain management doctor to try and help me out with this, and so it ended up being that I had to get these spinal injections to try and get me out of a wheelchair to be able to walk. The first one was a complete fail. It kind of made things worse. But my second and third one really, really helped. But since I was so underweight and weak, like the medicine was very overpowering for my body, so it put me in this funk where I couldn't stay awake for for about 20 hours of the day I was asleep, and I could only stay awake for about 5 hours. I was so underweight and malnourished that I was not healthy enough to go into a pain rehab program and have the stamina to make it through the day. So before that, in April, I was admitted I had to go to Minnesota and get admitted to an inpatient refeeding program, which was the absolute worst experience of my life. And it was on a phone call with my dad, who was back in California, when I was screaming on the phone to make mom take me out. And he said, Katie, the doctors don't think you can eat 3,000 calories in a day, because the goal was 3,000 calories and you're out. Once they said they didn't think I could do it, it was instant. That next meal, I was like, give me every single thing you have in this kitchen. And I was so mad and
pissed off.
I got so pissed off that I was like, I'll show you, doctor. And then, so eventually, after about 2 weeks there, I got out. And then I got to go home and I got to experience prom, because it was my senior prom, and I already had everything, a dress and everything, and a date. And I was like, so I got to do that, and then I had to come back a week later and go to Minnesota and go into a month-long pain rehabilitation program, which was a much more positive experience. This pain rehabilitation, it was from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. And you did occupational therapy, you did physical therapy, and you did learn about your illness. When I got to the Mayo Clinic, couldn't walk, I was like a pathetic life.
So she went from not being able to walk in the airport to running 3 miles by the time we left the Mayo Clinic. So she really is the most determined, stubborn girl I've ever met. But I do have a lot of admiration for her.
It speaks a lot to who she is and her character. She showed up to our timed mile, finished first. We did the Battle Frog Challenge this year, which is an unbelievable obstacle course, and she was up there with the first group. Her heart is huge, and her competitiveness is just a big part of who she is, and I think that we're lucky to have her.
What I've learned about myself, and really any other person, is that no matter what, if you can look at something in a positive light, the situation will get 10,000 times better. It'll make everything easier. Your body will work better, your mind will work better, and you'll just feel better. You could go through something like an emotional trauma, a physical trauma, but if you can be it's okay. I'm gonna be okay. The biggest thing that helped me through this 2-year process was, this too shall pass. Meaning I've gone through this, it's passed, and this too will pass. Ohio, it is so windy, and I go to softball practice every day with tight pants and tight socks on, which some days absolutely kills me. But I know it'll pass. It has always passed. It will not forever be flared up. A flare-up is a flare-up. It's temporary. And I can go home, take a hot shower, put my medicine on, and I will be okay. In the end, you'll always be okay. It's just, this was not even a year ago. The Rowdy Awards are happening on April 17th, and I was just leaving the refeeding program April 17th last year. So it's just this is crazy. We're coming a year and I'm doing this video, and it's it makes my heart smile a lot. The future, I think there's the future is gold. There's so much in store, but every day I just hope to feel better. With softball, every day just get a little bit stronger and keep pushing and have successful seasons, and yeah, I think the future looks great.